Já, té Steve Pelletier initié mají kýžní initially Billigana Bushashin, Kinlachini Dashache, Billigana Dashanale. Welcome back to Res Ball, where this time we're going to talk about one of my favorite prospects in this 2025 NBA draft class, and that's Wisconsin guard John Tonje. John Tonje is mega scoring guard. Really was John Blackwell and John Tonje that led that charge for a 27-10. Wisconsin team ended up getting in the second round of the NCAA tournament. I do have minor beef with John Tonje, but you'll see it's more of a just a, kind of a joke for me. But let's get into John Tonje right about now. John Tonje comes from Omaha, Nebraska. So he originally was there, went to Omaha Central High School. As a senior at Omaha Central High School, John Tonje scored 23.8 points per game, pulled in 6.1 rebounds, had 1.8 assists and 1.4 or 1.8 steals per game, excuse me, and 1.4 assists per game. There's a senior at Omaha Central High School. Ended up going to Colorado State for 4 years. You'll see in this profile there's going to be two Mountain West schools that are pretty pissed off. So John Tonje is there for 4 years. You'll see as we break down the stats. Senior year is pretty good. The rest of the time, not so much. Not really a lot of production. Transfers over to Missouri for a fifth year, but unfortunately, a foot injury took him out and limited him to only 8 games. So John Tonje only played 8 games for Missouri. And then for the final season, this is where the beef comes in, the sixth and final year. Originally, John Tonje committed to my Lobos, University of New Mexico. I think I'm wearing my Lobo gear right now. Yeah. So this is why I got minor beef with him. He was originally committed to Coach Pitino and the Lobo staff and then switched to Wisconsin, which, to be fair and perfectly honest, that was the best decision for John Tonje. There was no way John Tonje was going to get the run and the shine that he did, like they did with Wisconsin, and Wisconsin absolutely 100% promised him to be the man. They lived up on that promise, and they understood the kid and the game and how to do all that stuff. It just kills me because this Lobo team was already really good, and just imagining John Tonje honored already with Nelly Jr. Joseph, Donovan Dent, True Washington, all the guys, Philip Borovichinen, Mustafa Amzil. Oh man, it would have been really good, but alas, better decision again. Better decision for John Tonje to go to Wisconsin and be the man. And I don't think we're talking about him like this and getting all that attention if he does end up as a Lobo. And sad as it may be for me, John Tonje got his degree in business and real estate from Colorado State in the 4 years he was there. So he does have a degree in business and real estate. And as a grad student, I'm not sure if this continued on from Missouri and Wisconsin, but so far as I know, he studied as a grad student at both places. He studied sports leadership, so he's a well-educated kid as well, along with all the other basketball accolades. Again, if somebody as a teammate, like, sure, give me that guy that has that business and real estate degree. I definitely want that as my teammate to understand investments in real estate markets better than I probably could even now as a 41-year-old man. So this last season at Wisconsin, 19.6 points per game for John Tonje, 5.3 rebounds per game. Apparently, I can't read stat lines anymore. So 19.6 points per game for John Tonje, Wisconsin, 5.3 rebounds per game, 1.8 assists, 0.7 steals, 0.2 blocks per game. Shooting splits for John Tonje were 54.1% from 2-point range, 38.8% from 3-point range, and then 90.9% from the free throw line. Really, really, really close to being a 50-40-90 guy. He was 50-40-90 until like later in February, I think. So still, this is really good efficiency. Let's go check out the true shooting percentage and exactly what you want from a lead scorer that shoots the three that well, that converts inside the 2-point arc above 50%, and then knocks down 90% of his free throws. Is a rare combination of offensive skills, which all translated into a 64.7% true shooting percentage. And really, since he's been the man, the last year at Colorado State, the fourth year, was 61.1% true shooting percentage. It was only 8 games at Missouri, but even in that role, 68.5% true shooting. And then at Wisconsin, as the man of mans, 64.7% true shooting. That's a great indicator to see. And even in the years where he didn't play many minutes, like as a freshman, 60.5% true shooting, sophomore, 55.6, or excuse me, as a freshman at Colorado State. Apparently, I'm really having trouble reading the lines here. As a freshman at Colorado State, John Tonje shot 61.2% true shooting. As a sophomore, 54.2% true shooting, so it went down significantly. But then as a junior, 59.6%. So really, there's only 1 year in John Tanje's whole profile, whether he was the man, whether he was just a role player, didn't score that much. Only 1 year where he shot under 59.6% true shooting. So this is a guy, no matter his role, no matter what he's doing, he is not wasting a single shot. I mean, 59.6% is your lowest shooting percentage outside of being a sophomore. Screams like you understand advanced basketball and knowing what to do. Couple of things to track in this true shooting percentage, and the main knock I have on John Tanje is I don't think this guy's like a passer ever. Even going back in high school, 1.4 assists was that senior year. Really, he's used to having the ball in his hands. I think he's a pretty good ball handler and somebody like you can give a second unit to and go out there and cook. But he just has never shown to have great passing vision and assist numbers. Again, another dude that point guards are born, they're not made. You can't force that stuff. Career high for John Tonje's assist percentage was this past season, 6th year NCAA basketball player of 11.9% assist percentage. That's low, man. That's really low for a lead ball handler. Yeah, there's just not a lot you can argue for with John Tonje's passing, but the turnover rate was 10.8%. This is somebody that had 28% usage. As I've said with a lot of other guys before, anytime you're around 10 or under 10 in turnover rate, you are taking care of the ball. So while I am critical of John Tonje's passing, and I think he just is wired to score and doesn't have court vision, he is at least not turning the ball over. And with that true shooting percentage, 64.7% being high, I mean, like you can't really argue for this. And honestly, I thought John Tonje's usage rate was going to be higher, like in the 30s. 28% is so high, don't get me wrong. But as you'll hear me say, I think he can do a little bit more off ball. And his skill set and his size and everything makes him, why he's in this tier with Ace Bailey and Peyton Sanford of you were the star, but you can easily transition into an NBA role player. At the NBA Combine, John Tonje measured at 6'4 3/4 inches without shoes, weighed in at 211.8 pounds, and has a 6'9 wingspan. So we're looking at a guy with like a plus 4 inch wingspan, and he's around 6'5, 6'6, 218, or excuse me, 211. So again, 6'4 3/4 inches without shoes. So 6'5, 6'6 in shoes, 211.8 pounds, and then 6'9 wingspan. All good size for the wing position here. Let's go to the shot chart. 112 shots at the rim for John Tonje. That's really, I think, the rim, like getting pressure in the paint and at the rim and shooting threes. Again, think of the Daryl Morey special, as I've said before. If you're unfamiliar with that term, I call guys the Daryl Morey special when really all they do is attack the rim and shoot threes. And even for being the man, you would think this is somebody that's dribbling a lot and then chucking up mid-range shots. Because in college, it seems like that's to be the thing with the guys that get super high usage is they end up being a little bit more mid-range shooters or doing more craft stuff than being physical. But I think John Tonje loves being physical. Number one, 64 shots in the paint, 112 at the rim. 72 of 112 shots at the rim. That's 64.3%. That's good for being a lead guy. Again, being a guard, anything over 60% at the rim is good. You would like it to be better because I do think John Tonje is a pretty good athlete. He's not like mega dunk contest or anything, but has wiggle, has a little bit of up game to get up there and dunk if he's got a clear lane. But with that size, 6'5 ish, 211, and then the 6'9 wingspan, you see him use all that stuff to get those broad shoulders in there and draw contact, to get in there and to be able to finish and use a little bit longer wingspan on other guards that can't defend that. And then in the paint, I do think he has like a runner floater, a little bit of a post game and stuff. 36 of 64 shots is 56.3%. One of the best guards we'll see in the paint with those numbers of just like, man, if he got in there, it was going in and there was very little anybody could do to stop him. I mean, 56.3% of the paint is red hot. And it's another one of those where it's like, man, there'd be so many centers who would kill to have that percentage in the paint. Only 44 shots in the mid range, which I think is a very good indicator for John Tonje and his NBA potential. Let's break this down into medium zones. I mean, there's really only one spot in the mid range where he took double digit shot attempts, and that's the right baseline where he was 7 of 25. Even then, that's such a small sample. There, he took 439 total shots, and then 25 was his most in the mid range. Everywhere else, 9 from left baseline, 4 from left elbow, 6 from right elbow. for somebody who is the man who needs to transition into an NBA role player. That's exactly what you want to see. Like, he shoots threes. He's not going to do any cutesy stuff in the mid range that becomes inefficient. And that really in the NBA, again, only the highest level stars are able to do that. Maybe occasionally some like high level bench scorers, but again, he doesn't have to eliminate any inefficient mid range stuff because he doesn't take them anyway. 169 above the break threes, 66 of 169, 39.1% there. Very good percentage. And then of 19 of 50 from the corners, he took more corner threes than I thought he would have, which again is a good thing in the profile because in the NBA at the wing position, the number one thing they're going to ask him to do is, hey, stand on the corner. You get a power forward, a stretch forward, or you have the other small forward or whatever. We need you to stand in the corner and open things up for everybody else. 12 of 31 from left corner, 38.7%. 7 of 19 from right corner, 36.8%. Both of those need to be better, but I think in the NBA, when he gets that shot diet of doing those other things, everywhere else indicates like, sure, he's going to be a great corner 3-point shooter. And again, this is a guy that's 90% above 90% from the free throw line. If you want to argue for his mechanics, like against his mechanics, John Tonje's mechanics, then go argue with somebody else because I don't want to hear it. The really only bad, the quote unquote bad spot from three for John Tonje is on the top of the key, 32.6%, 15 of 46 shots. Even then, like, I live with that. That's the long part of the court. This is the guy who was the number one option. John Blackwell took some pressure off of him, but like all the other upperclassmen like Crawl and those dudes, they didn't really do much. Nobody else outside of Blackwell and Tonje scored 10 points per game or more. Everybody was at like 9.8 and below. So again, I think that of that in the context of all this too is like he has to be number one. If he's not hot, if he ain't taking shots, like they're not going down. And I thought he would have been a little bit more like Ace Bailey as the season wore on, of like, okay, the efficiency is going to go down, but it never really did. And even then, if you're going to nitpick, like, oh, he's not that efficient from long parts, it's like, well, he's 23 of 63 from right wing, which is 36.5%. Totally fine. And then he was super scorching red hot from left wing, 28 of 60, which is 46.7%. You just can't argue with these 3-point numbers because not only are they a lot, it's 219 total threes. I mean, 60 attempts from the left wing, 60 attempts from the right wing. We've seen guys that didn't even take 60 attempts from the entire 3-point range. So just to be able to knock those down at average, a little bit above average in every single spot except from top of the key, you're going to be good, I think. And really, the wings and the corners are where John Tonje needs to focus his efforts on. Because again, this is a guy that was a star, but in the NBA, is probably going to transition into being the guy on the wing that like Nikola Jokic kicks out to, or being in the corners who Cade Cunningham can kick a pass out to and knock down an easy corner three. Like that's going to be his role, and you can see it all here. And if he gets run off the line, he's fantastic in the paint, and he can get to the rim also. So again, this is one of the easier ones for me of arguing. Like, yeah, he's absolutely going to be a good role player in the NBA just based on the skill set he has. Another thing to look at, 4 years at Colorado State, and his free throw attempt rate there was 39.6%. He was never like the guy there. It was really only until the fourth year where he got over 19, over like 20-ish% usage. As a freshman, he only played 261 minutes. As a sophomore, he only played 56 or 565 minutes. As a junior, John Tonje only played 759 minutes. It really wasn't until his senior year where he played over 759 minutes. Two, they actually started him in like almost all the games. Before that, John Tonje in his first 3 seasons only started 13 games. And then it wasn't until that year where they gave him the ball and they gave him a little bit more usage, but he still was able to get to the free throw line every single year there at Colorado State. 40.8% free throw attempt rate as a freshman. Very good. 38.9% as a sophomore, still super solid. The minutes go up as a junior, 40.4% free throw attempt rate. So you're like, okay, that's good. He still is physical. And then as a senior, his 39.2% went down a little, but still hovering around 40% for a guard. Absolutely. You're like, this guy can get to the line. And then in Missouri, again, it's only a game, 58.3% free throw attempt rate. But then at Wisconsin, 57.9% free throw attempt rate. That's really where the game, I think, separates itself from a lot of dudes that are the high usage number one super senior 24-year-old kid. That's part of the profile. Again, for me, age doesn't concern me in that regard. I like all of the skill set here where you're like the 3-point numbers track. You took a lot of them. He gets to the rim. and he can finish above average, really good in the paint. Oh, and by the way, he also generates a ton of free throws. He's done that even when he was just in a minor role before. And he doesn't take any mid-range things, so we don't have to eliminate that stuff from his game. Oh, and he's like 6'5", 211, 6'9" wingspan. Play him at shooting guard. Yeah, I buy into all this, and you still have the potential of like if you give this guy the ball, with that ball handling, with the rim pressure, with the free throw stuff, like maybe he could turn something more, even though he's an upperclassman. My comp in all this is Quentin Grimes. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little worried on this one just because Quentin Grimes all of a sudden in Philadelphia blew up. But before that, I mean, he was not thought of in that regard. He was the play finisher, like he shot threes, get inside the paint, just go to the line, and a solid defender, which I do think John Tonje can be as well. The Wisconsin thing kind of ruined it. I'm not gonna lie, the defensive argument, just because he's the man, but he still posted 105 defensive rating, which is totally fine. And you watch the tape, you don't see him really get beat. You see him still understand how to utilize his size and his physicality. And especially if you play him on the wing at the shooting guard, maybe even small forward position. I don't think John Tonje is quite quick enough to guard like the highest level NBA point guards. But I also don't think he's going to get cooked as a backup guy, which is where I see John Tonje starting is in a backup unit. I kicked around other comps like Gary Trent Jr., and other shooters, but it was hard to find, number one, somebody who you're like, okay, I know they're primarily a shooter, but number two, they have ball handling that when they get run off the line, you always feel secure and you're like, they're going to do the right thing. They're not going to, jack up some weird, inefficient shot. And then three, there is the potential, even though for John Tonje, I do still think it's smaller. I'm not going to argue he's going to blow up like Quentin Grimes did in Philadelphia, but that it is still there because all the skill set, the ball handling, the fact he's not wasteful is there. I'm not going to argue that he can blow up with the assists the way Quentin Grimes did, but again, I don't know if anybody really thought Quentin Grimes was going to blow up with the assists that way as well. And who knows? Maybe that was just the end of the season thing with Quentin Grimes, and he kind of goes back to being the solid role player that he is for Philadelphia once everybody else gets back healthy. But it's probably good now because they're like, hey, now we can trust him in the second unit to run and go buck wild and things like that. So I do think John Tonje is going to be that way with Quentin Grimes, where initially you come in, you trust him to be the 3 and D wing. He has this ball handling and lead scorer background as an upperclassman. You don't bet on that being like for sure thing, but you do bet on that it is going to give your team a net overall positive, and he's always going to be efficient. So I have John Tonje probably higher than anybody I know, 34. I still think he's like high second round type of guy because again, everything in the profile of having the game that's super efficient no matter the role, being able to generate free throws, and then the 3-point numbers. The other thing I didn't break down in too much detail, but I will now. 43.5% as a freshman, 31.3% as a sophomore, 36.4% as a junior, 38.9% as a fourth-year senior, 33% in those 8 games as a fifth-year guy in Missouri, and then that 38.8% as a fifth-year, sixth-year senior. And here in college this long, I have trouble keeping track of you as well. I don't know why I should say that when I was in college for longer than as a grad student, but that doesn't matter. 3-point attempt rate for John Tonje is 49.8% across all these 6 years. It was 60.5% as a freshman, 55.6% as a sophomore, 59.6% as a junior, 45.6% 3-point attempt rate as a junior for John Tonje, 47.3% 3-point attempt rate as a senior, right at 500, 50% as a fifth-year guy in Missouri in those 8 games. And then it was so close to being 50-50, 49.9% in the 6th year as a 6th-year super senior. You know how hard it is to be 50-50 in this, like 2-point, 3-point, and then go back. We're talking 50-50 of like getting rim pressure, 50-50 shooting from 3. Again, everything in the game screams this is an easy transition to an NBA role player, much similar to like a Quentin Grimes. So I really love John Tonje. I love his game, love everything about him. I just wish he was a Lobo instead of a Badger, but great decision by him. Some things to look at on John Tonje. John Tonje NBA draft full combine highlights from the diaspora drop. That's probably number one thing to go to right now. He had a really bad game, John Tonje, in the first NBA combine scrimmage, but that second one, man, he like lit it up. 17 points. This is also one of those teams where there was really no point guard. The point guard play was almost non-existent on some of these teams. It hurt like a Hanson Yang in some places, and John Tonje was one of the guys that had to step up and play point guard. And I think he really helped himself with doing that, even in the game where it wasn't that great. I think it was like, okay, this guy's unafraid of being, out of position. He's unafraid of potentially like quote unquote ruining his draft stock, which so many guys run from this stuff. But he understands this is another skill set I need to develop and work on. But again, I'm not the one to argue for John Tonje, the point guard, but it was cool of him to see and do that and to remain aggressive to show he belongs with like the athletes out here and is a standout guy. So again, John Tonje, NBA draft, combine full highlights, the diaspora drop. Definitely go check that out. A couple other things to look at here. College basketball scouting has a nice NBA draft profile on him, about 6 minutes, 11 seconds. Go check that out. Wisconsin basketball, meet John Tonje. Absolutely, definitely check that out. Shanny Hoops has a nice little highlight mix for on our guy John Tonje, Wisconsin highlight mix. Shanny Hoops, that's SHANNY. Go and take a look at all those things. And then the last thing to look at for John Tonje is Big Ten men's basketball. I mean, they have so many different John Tonje highlights versus, unfortunately, the upset win against our Wildcats here in Arizona, against Purdue, against like so many different things. And he's just an incredibly fun player to watch, in my opinion. Just go check out any John Tonje, any Wisconsin game from this last season, and you will be thoroughly entertained for sure. So I love John Tonje. Again, as I said from the beginning, very easy transition from being the man to an NBA role player because he is the 3-and-D type of guy, similar to Quentin Grimes. So yeah, thank you so much for listening to us. We will catch you next time. We're going to